Welcome to the Rachel and Cassandra Show. Before we begin, our disclaimer. These bitches sound like they're giving legal and financial advice, but I promise you they're not.
Blast off. Hi, everybody. It's weird to not do the disclaimer, but here we are. I'm Rachel Evers, here with Cassandra Evers.
Hi, we hope you enjoyed the disclaimer.
Yeah, it's new. We're excited.
Yay!
We are here to talk today about how real estate is not a competition. It is, in fact, a team sport.
Yes, it is.
And as you know, our topics always come out of real life stuff. Like stuff that we deal with in the wild shows up here on the show.
And we decided to do a positive spin on it instead of, because I had kind of a gripey week. So we decided we were going to not be gripey, but go for the positive aspect and reframe it, right? At Rachel's recommendation, she's in her 75 hard and is a new woman. So
and I am also a lifelong turd polisher. So I do feel like, you just reframe it and move forward. So
yeah, it's raining. Thank God those plants are getting water.
Bingo.
Okay.
Excellent example. So, I'm just going to dive right in because there's one place where I often see a real estate transaction get mucked up because agents like to insert their own egos to make themselves feel relevant in a deal. And it's wild to me when I'm representing a seller, for example, and a buyer's agent comes in just guns a-blazing, like just right out the gate, looking for a fight, making all these demands, arguing points that are like they have zero context for anything and just come out with, I'm trying to think of a real example because I'm getting super conceptual. It's like it's the space I like to play in, really. But ultimately, what I see often is a buyer who wants a house and an agent who wants to feel relevant, and that shows up louder than the deal. So if I'm not careful about how I position this kind of deal to my sellers, the whole deal could blow up without a buyer getting a house or a seller selling a house.
You said a lot of words.
I did.
You said a lot of words.
Let me tell you an example right now. I have a seller who's selling their house, and a buyer's agent comes along and wrote this horrible offer. It's a fine offer. Don't get me wrong. It's like the money amount is right. The terms are reasonable. But he sent this long ass email full of, at phase 1, we will complete this, this, and this. And by phase 2, we will have completed this, this, and this. And during this time frame, the buyer is contingent, okay? Seller selling the house, buyer has to sell their house first. We said, okay, we'll accept your deal, but we will be continuing to market the property for sale. So there's something called a kick-out clause. That's how it's colloquially, commonly known. Kick-out clause. It basically says, if we get another offer, we're going to come to you, current buyer, and give you 24, 48, or 72 hours to remove your home sale contingency. And if you are unable or unwilling to do that, we will move forward with this other buyer. So it gives that seller an opportunity to actually get into another contract, specifically around this home sale contingency. So we said, we'll accept your offer. We want this kick-out clause. And the agent came back with the longest email in the world with all of these ridiculous terms. And they were like, well, fine, you can go contingent, continue to show, but you can't actually use the kick-out clause during the inspection time frame, which is 10 days. And then after that, we want 2 more weeks to do some other nonsense. And you can't use your kick-out clause then either. But if for some reason in the 1 week before closing you receive another offer, then you can execute the kick-out. It basically nullified the entire kick-out clause. And the agent I'm reluctant because what if he watches the show? Let's just pretend he doesn't. And if he does, maybe this will help him. He's a builder first. who's playing real estate agent. So though he understands real estate, he's got this builder hat on and he can't take it off. It's what he does for a living. So all of these mucky, messy, entangled terms started to feel, and I'm a big proponent of, this is all psychology. I mean, not all, but more than you think. It really started to feel complex and atypical in a bad way. And my clients started to feel trapped. And it was the other agent's ego getting in the way because there was just a better way to language it without it sounding so scary. Anyway, I don't know. I'm really far in the weeds and your eyes are glazing over. So chime in.
No, I'm listening. I'm trying to hold the thread with our topic, which is real estate's a team sport. So,
Yes.
how could he have done that differently?
He could have. That's a really good question because I don't know if he could have, other than putting at the front of the offer, like, and what I mean by at the front of the offer is it shines through when a buyer wants a house. And it also shines through if a buyer is coming across like they're willing to take this turd of a house off your hands. Like the feeling that comes through in an offer doesn't always match what the buyer wants. And I think here's the nut and bolt of it. I think a lot of times agents forget that they're agents of their client. Like my legal fiduciary obligation for my buyer is to execute the outcome that they want, not the one that I want them to have. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So can I ask if these contingencies and these demands, if I can call it a demand, can I ask if those were done via email or via phone call?
They were done via email.
So there is no tone in the
Exactly.
word, right?
Yes. Yep.
Emails can be wonderful, but sometimes a simple phone call goes a really long way in conveying meaning. And it might not have worked. He might have picked up the phone and been like, and said it exactly as you said what he had written.
So
and he might not have meant it like that, but you'll never know.
There's an added layer that I intentionally omitted, but I guess it just became very important. The email was sent to my co-listing agent who forwarded it as is to the sellers. So all of that interpretation, yeah, that was a different conversation because I'm not in that situation. That might have been not the right move. So then we're managing to the seller's emotional reaction to it just got really entangled. It's a spider web.
Well, so can I just go not off topic? I wanted to say, so we're talking about real estate being a team sport. And I just wanted to point out that there are a lot of professionals that are really standalone professionals in real estate. The realtor, there's the loan originator, there is
you got two realtors.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, so there's a realtor, there's a loan officer, there's a title agent, right? There are underwriters. There are different people who work in different factions. There's the appraiser, right? I mean, I could keep listing. This is not what the episode about. The point is there's a lot of the point is that there's a lot. Well, I don't want to list them all. There's a lot of people who are involved in the transaction and they're standalone professionals. None of them can do anything without the other. Nobody can buy a house unless everybody does their part. And it takes really good communication, sharing of information, listening, consideration of others. If you're able to do all of those things, a transaction is successful and feels pretty painless for the most part. And I was going to say, this is a side topic and we're not really there yet, but this industry is really, really stressful, right? For most people would agree that it's very high stress. We're not brain surgeons, but boy, we act like it. But like seriously, like the mental health of professionals here if you're able to work with instead of against everybody else in the transaction, boy, you're going to be a lot happier. The transaction's going to go smoother. You're going to develop a lot more self-confidence in what you can do. You're going to be able to rely on that person, right, to pull their weight or pick up the slack. If all of those things are really important. And our conversation today came about as a result of, there's an adage, and everybody knows what this is. Rachel, do you wanna say it? I know you know it. We haven't talked about this, but
Is this the more you mess with shit, the more it stinks?
no, I was actually gonna say, like, the phrase I see in loan originator groups is stay in your lane.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And that was the genesis of this topic, was about
Yes.
staying in your lane. And there are so many places where lanes overlap. We have shared lanes, and that's where
Yes.
things can get sticky. Yes.
Yes. So that's what's instituted it is, like I had a deal where I didn't get an addendum to the contract, that when I finally got it, it was almost a month old, and I got it less than 24 hours before closing. And the addendum changed the purchase price, which meant I had to change the loan amount. It has to go back through underwriting. And I'm over here just trying to get the final numbers balanced. And then I have to restructure everything.
It's a
And
gigantic
I was,
curveball.
yeah, and I was in a
Fundamental.
really, I was in a shitty mental place of what in the F, trying to swear less. Why did they not send me this? That's on them. And while I can't know if it's out there, I mean, perhaps if I had talked to him more, I mean, I stayed in communication, maybe he just forgot or something like that. But getting angry doesn't do anything. Saying stay in your lane doesn't do anything. Yelling at how they're in their lane doesn't do anything. Like,
no. And
I don't know.
I don't know why this is what's popping into my head, but a common one that I try like crazy to not do is, often I see real estate agents trying to loan officer and talking with their client about what their rate should be and what product would be a good fit for them. And, as though I have to understand it while staying in my lane, I have to understand finance types, how they intersect with contract terms, how they impact the offers I need to write for my buyers with certain mortgage types to be competitive. It's probably not my place to say, well, what you should probably get a rural development loan. None of my business. Like, I don't want to say it's none of my business, because it is my business, but it's not my distinction or place to say that. I'm not pulling my client's credit. I'm not looking at their whole financial picture. That's not in my lane.
Right.
Yay?
And you
Or
need to
yay or
know a
nay?
little bit. No, that's true. You need to know enough about the different products to know if a house will pass inspection, right? And you have an idea if the market will accept that type of financing, because that's very specific. And us loan officers, I have to know. I could be like, RD's their best bet, rural development, have them go rural development. And if you say, bitch, you're fucking nuts, nobody's accepting those. It has to be conventional. Thank you for letting me know.
That's us working together.
That's us working together. I want them to get a house. Let me see if that loan type is a possibility.
Yeah. And if it's not, because we're working together, then I up my game. And I guess maybe not up my game, but then I know where I need to start getting creative and competitive in other areas of the offer to offset the potential perception of a certain finance type.
Yeah. And it's rough, because if you came back, if I said they're going to go RD and you said nobody's accepting those, and I said it's that or nothing, RD or they're not getting a house, then we both have to, she has to put her thinky cap on to get an offer accepted and be pretty fucking creative. And I have to get permission
to look at.
Yeah. And I have to get permission to share some of the borrower's information that she wouldn't normally have. Like, yes, we have enough money to pay an escalation clause. We have lots of reserves, right? Or I have to give her enough info so that, because we have to work for a team to get the person the fucking house on the terms that work best for them.
And on the flip side, go ahead.
I was going to say, and if we don't work well together, I could say they have to be RD. And she was like, fuck you. I'm calling my preferred loan officer who can
Yes.
do everything under the sun, who's a genius and
Yeah.
pays for all of my marketing, which is why I send them there.
Different episode.
I know.
But
I'm
that's a
just
very real
saying.
thing. No, I think
Yeah,
we
I
should
know.
have those conversations. Get me in trouble in my local market, but I am a pot stirrer, so I don't care. Yeah, write it down. I guess I do care, but I'm gonna do it anyway. How about that? And the flip side.
It's titled Buying Your Realtor. Go ahead.
I like that. The flip side of that conversation exists too, which is when a loan officer tries to realtor. And a good example of this that happened to me for real, I'm sitting down with a client to write an offer on a property, and real estate is hyper local. Maybe it won't always be, but right now it is. And customarily in my market, we do something called earnest money deposits. And whatever your opinion on that is, I don't care. It's customary. So let's just go from there. My buyer client came with an out-of-state lender who advised them not to do an earnest deposit. And I was like, with my client in front of me, I was like, really? Where does that come from? And I have this piece of paper right here that I was talking about before the show started, and it says, shut up, listen, grace, diplomacy. And I try to, when I am tempted to get argumentative, I like to use this. So I just probed.
When you're tempted to react.
Yes, react.
That's a good pause.
So I just was very, tell me more. And my client basically disclosed that their loan officer because the loan officer was in a different market and had recently bought a house of his own, he was projecting all of his shit into my client's offer because it worked for him. Whatever. So I was like, sweet, let's call him. And I called him right on the spot. And we were like in a public place at a restaurant. And I was like, hey, yo, buyer one and buyer two want to buy this house. And we're going through all the offer terms. And they're telling me that you are advising them not to use an earnest deposit. Like you're a staunch advocate against it. And I know that's not the right language. Anyway, I explained to him that they would not get the house because it was a competitive offer situation. And in my market, earnest deposits represent the buyer's ability to perform. It's purely a psychological play. The money isn't necessarily really at risk.
I was just going to go chime in and say, this is really common across the entire state of Michigan, not just her market, because I lend everywhere and every fucking purchase contract has an earnest money deposit on it. Yeah. Everybody who's local in Michigan knows that that's in it and it's part of the contract. It's written in earnest, like deposit of. There's a freaking line in our contract. So she's not like making it up.
And correct. And like every term of a contract, you don't have to put an earnest deposit, but you do have to decide if you want to lose the house because you're unwilling to provide one, because your loan officer, who's not a realtor, was trying to realtor. Just like the real estate agent trying to advise their client on which loan type is best for their financial situation. I have to understand mortgage types, but I can't tell you which one is best for you because I'm not a fucking loan officer.
Oh, I have an entire slideshow, and we're not talking about this, of things that, it's not a slideshow. I put it all on one PDF or image, whatever, of what affects what you get, what kind of mortgage you get, why mine is different than my neighbor's and is different than Rachel's and is different than my parents and is different than everybody's, and all of those little factors. So for a realtor to say you should do this loan and your rate should be this, like, I'm sorry, did you look at all these key pieces of information? You didn't? Shut up. That would be like me taking a contract and going, are you really buying this home? Is this the only house your realtor showed you?
Why are you doing this escalation clause?
Why?
This is you're overpaying. Oh,
yeah. That seems like a bad idea. Like, that's not I have to understand what an escalation clause is, right? Yes. I don't have to know why it's there. Anyway.
You know who's really good at staying in their lane? I'm looking at the list that I wrote while you were naming people. You've got agents, you've got clients, you've got loan officers, title agent, inspector, client, both clients. I probably already said that. The title company is really good at just taking the paper and doing what the paper says. I don't think I've ever had my title company come back and go, I just broke my pen. must be frustrated. I don't think I've ever had a title company come back and go, are you sure you want that title policy? Or do you really want us to hold that much earnest money? Like they don't, they're unflappable.
Yeah, and just so you know, the title company in Michigan, because we're not like an attorney state, so the title company actually closes for you. They get signatures on everything, they notarize it, make sure it gets recorded. They handle all of the money and disperse all of the funds. So that's what they do, and they're phenomenal. Often they get shit on at the end, and everything comes
title
through
companies
them.
Get thrown under the bus for
all
so
the time
many things.
For everything.
Yes.
For everything.
Well,
the title company. Yeah.
Yeah. Title missed that addendum. Forget the fact that I never sent it to them.
Oh, that was me the other day. It was not the girls. I was like, well, this would have been nice to have this addendum before now. And she's like, I literally got it from the other title company 20 minutes ago. I didn't know either. And just so you know, hey, realtors, when the terms of the purchase change, like the purchase price, they have to rewrite the title policy.
Yes.
Which takes some time. They have to edit the documents, and the lender also has to do that. So if there's something like that, can you just share it?
And some of those changes might trigger a new
closing disclosure
requirement. Yes.
That's what I had.
Yeah. So we're ready to close on Friday morning, and I tell Cassandra, hey, our purchase price changes. You can't, it's not like you can just go in and change that number and roll forward like that's the only change. This is it's a machine.
Right. Had we worked in team, yep. I mean, this happened to me Wednesday. Guess what's closing today and not Wednesday? Because I didn't get the because I got the addendum and we were supposed to close Wednesday. I got the addendum Tuesday and it changed. A new closing disclosure had to go out. We had to wait 3 more days. You know what? Even if you have an unsigned addendum, be a teammate, be a team player, just send me the unsigned one so I know it's there, right? I'll get the signed one later. I don't care. But just that open communication, that open teamwork, I want to be on your side. It makes it a lot easier. I can't blame the title company, right?
Yes.
I can't even blame the listing agent because his title company had it. But anyway, everybody's got busy schedules and constant contact, right? You were earlier talking about somebody who needs updates pretty consistently. So you're constantly in contact there. You're getting dinged for showings and putting together. I mean, it's very busy and you don't have like a 9 to 5 hour. It leads to a lot of stress, right? A lot of isolation if you're not feeling like you're working as a team. So I think if everybody actually works as a team, each transaction will feel better and it might be a little less stressful.
Yeah.
But
I agree with all of that. It's funny because while you were talking earlier, I had this thought and I was going to save it till the end, but I'm just going to read it now because I feel like when we're doing this right, we're able to work in conjunction with the other professionals on a transaction on behalf of and while still advocating for our respective clients. Like I'm looking out for the best interest of my client, period. Even if it's in direct conflict with what's in my best interest or the title company's best interest or whatever. I'm working for my client, but in order to really work for my client, I need to inspire these other professionals to do what needs to be done to get my client what they want, whether that is consummating a contract or getting out of a contract, because sometimes that it's getting out of the contract. I'm certainly not working for the good of the contract to close, which I think happens sometimes. Automatically, you get so focused on the finish line, on the goal. You're like, I got to close this deal. Well, it's really not about the deal. It's about your client and what they want. So if you can stay tuned into that, the rest just falls into place. I don't know. I say that, but then I think like some people feel like they have to fight all the time, and it's not a fight. You don't have to fight.
Well, I agree because I think it's the dual-sided nature of, if you really look, you have the seller's side and the buyer's side, and for some reason there's the misconception that those two are in opposition.
Right.
Which
not true.
is not true, because if there's good, clear, open communication, and you don't have to spill the fucking beans or anything like
No, you
that. You can
can't.
still,
You
right,
can't.
you can't. So if you can communicate effectively, you're probably going to find a path, and a really harmonious one, to that finish line where everybody ends up being like, "Oh, that was like kind of nice. I
Yeah.
kind of like didn't mind that."
Yeah.
I've had that with new roofs. I had somebody get a new roof, right? It was about, they were buying a house. The sellers were providing a new roof. They had to sign the invoice on the roof. But the buyer had to sign
Okay.
sign proof of receipt, and the buyers were like, and the buyer's agent was gone, just so you know. So she said, "Can you?" And she was like in the middle of nowhere. She was like, "Is there any way you can drop this into an e-sign?" And I dropped it, sent it, and the buyer said, "Hey, oh, so I did the realtor's job there. Totally fine. She needed it signed,
Team
right?
player. Yeah.
Yeah." Um, and the buyers were like, "Why are we signing this? We're not the ones paying for it." And I reached out to the listing agent and I was like, "Hey, so and so's in the middle of nowhere. They're asking this, can you add clarity?" I wasn't like, "They're not signing this," because that's
Ah.
dumb.
Yeah.
Because she didn't say that. She wasn't outraged. I was curious too. And he was like, "Oh, the roofing company will only transfer the warranty one time. So we wanted to get the initial warranty in their name. And so if they sell in the next 10 years,
They
while the
can.
warranty is good, they can transfer it." What a fucking thoughtful thing,
Yeah.
right?
But
And the
if you had
buyer
a
was like, "Oh, that's amazing. But if I went in there just
fighting
shit,
where there wasn't a fight with
yep,
presumptions, my client's not signing this.
that's
Always ask
ridiculous. I've never
questions.
had a client sign that in my life."
Yeah. Oh, that's my favorite logic. That's my
Oh,
favorite. I'm air quoting logic. It's so not
I've been
logic.
doing this for 25 years and I've never.
Hold on. What did I just wrote this down out of something I was reading. Nope, that's not it. Things that have never happened before happen all the time. Nassim
That's
Taleb.
true.
Fooled by randomness is what I'm reading
Yeah.
right now. But it's true.
Oh, hey, do you want to talk about randomness? Because I'm
Oh,
going to go
yes.
off real estate
My
topics. So,
favorite.
Rachel,
Yes. Yeah.
how the fuck was your Wednesday? How random did we have on
Are
Wednesday?
you
We both
serious?
had an insanely
Oh my gosh.
random rant. So, this is the randomness of the world, because we are going to switch, right? We're just going to do a little personal stuff because we would do this on our normal. So, you guys get to listen in.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
was your most random shit Wednesday, and
I
how
had
did it tie into my random shit
I think
Wednesday?
I'm blushing. Like this has
You
got
are.
my adrenaline is pumping. It was how do I tell this? I don't want people to judge me. You guys, my dogs found an injured deer in the woods and all of my neighbors were gone and I had to go get my pistol and kill it.
Which is the humane thing to do,
Yeah,
so
it was
don't be
hard.
outraged.
And that's the short version. I mean, there were phone calls and it was hurt. It had been shot with an arrow days before. I mean, the fact that my dogs had it on the ground and one of
Yeah.
my dogs is a bully breed and she was trying to kill it. It was horrifying. It was awful. I mean, I cried. It was but it was the thing that there was there to do. I don't know. So, of course, as our lives unfold on these parallel trajectories, I get on the phone with Cassandra. And what did you do Wednesday?
I went to help our father take his dead deer kill to the meat processor, and I had to handle a dead deer and help get it into my SUV, and get it to a deer processor. I've never done anything like that. Rachel's never killed a deer. We had like deer morning at the
Yeah.
exact same time. And she doesn't know this, but while riding with our father, I said, "Hey, at what point and I'm going to tie this in and you'll see the randomness and the whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, at what point were you not terrified to drive with me? Does it take a year, 5 years? How long does it take a parent to not be scared when they're in the car with their kid?" And he goes, "Well, it's hard because they always crash that car eventually." And Rachel, what happened
Oh my
Wednesday?
gosh, you're kidding me.
I'm
So
not kidding.
Wednesday night,
It was insane.
Wednesday night, I got a call from my son who's 23, and he got into a accident. I don't want to say it was a horrible accident because he is unscathed, but his car is, all the airbags went off. It was crunched. He hit the concrete median. And, I've got to say, by the grace of God or universe or whatever, it's miraculous that he is alive and perfectly fine. But yeah, he totaled his car, and he's never had an accident, even a fender bender, in his entire life.
Well,
driving.
You told me that, and I got very teared up, and I was shocked because I was like, literally hours ago was talking about this with our father. Well, it's hard. They always crash that first car.
So if we bring this randomness is now starting to sound like connectedness, which really goes back to
where we started.
Show. This is all, it really is a team sport.
It really is. And for the mental health of all of
that. That's what we originally were talking about. It's a relay, right? It's like a race.
Well,
is it a relay?
Kind of.
Is it a football game? Find the right sport.
I don't know. There's parts of it that it's a relay. We've talked about it before being, there's a starting line and everybody has a different starting line.
Yeah.
But we all hit the finish line at the exact same point. So you have to allow the other person to do their job and God, fucking champion them through it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's hard out here. Because we are all standalone. Rachel, I mean, I know that you have a teammate, an admin. Some realtors do not. I have no admin.
That's only new. It's new because
right. And how much do you let go of?
Well, so I'm still learning how, because you reach a point where you're limited. The amount that you can deliver for your clients is limited by the number of hours in a day. And what started to happen in my business is my clients were getting underserved because more and more, I kept putting more and more on my plate. Yeah. So I had to somehow get a bigger plate. And a bigger plate for me means hiring somebody to do some of the
other work.
Admin stuff, yeah.
Well, and I recently hired a processor because
more team members.
They can do work and I can still be front and center and the main point of contact with people, because at about 100 loans a year, that is about all I can do. If I have more than 20 at a time, which is pretty common in the summer, I am ready to, it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. So I need a team, right? I have to let go of some of the things. I have to share with others and be really communicative with other realtors if yeah.
So do we want to walk through, like, how many people really do work on a file? Like for any person, traditionally,
Before we do that, where's our time?
34 minutes.
Okay. And they'll edit. Okay.
So
yes.
all of the people that have to get to that finish line, in order for the buyer and seller, because they're the ones at the finish line. Yes. In order for the buyer and seller to get to the finish line, in most cases, these are the people that have to do their job in a timely fashion and have it turn out the way you need it to, because any one of these can go sideways for numerous reasons. So you've got, obviously, buyer and seller. They are players, so name them, yes. Then we've got a listing agent and a buyer's agent. And then we've got a loan officer. And then we've got a processor, right? And an underwriter behind the loan. And then we've got the title agent, which would be also the title company. And they have an underwriter, right? No, it's an examiner.
They have an
examiner. And an underwriter, because they issue an insurance policy. So we also often have a home inspector. And in the home inspector umbrella, there can be a county or city required sign-off. That's another entity. You have depending on the mortgage type, would this be what part of the mortgage would this be? Let's say you had a rural development loan. That file has to go to rural development. That's another layer that has to sign off on that deal.
Rural development underwriter.
And if it's not the rural development underwriter, it could be the FHA underwriter or the VA underwriter. Like that slot No? She's
No.
saying no. There's not an underwriter? Doesn't a VA loan have
You
to get
already
approved by
said
the VA?
no. I won't get into the weeds on there, but there's the underwriter. Rural development has a second level underwriter. So,
So
yeah.
the underwriter for a VA loan is just the VA.
No, but I'm
No?
not getting into the weeds there. We're doing account. We're
Okay.
at, for those of you counting, we're at 13. Rachel has not mentioned the appraiser
Nope.
or the homeowner's insurance agent, both
Yes,
of which
no.
are required to take
Yeah.
action of some kind, nor has she mentioned an admin for the realtor or the closer at the lender who has to actually close. And most lenders have 2 underwriters, so I'm going to give another one.
Okay.
So I'm at a
Don't we have
solid
a possible
18.
appraisal management company layer for,
Oh, yeah.
in many
19.
cases, between the
Yes.
lender and the appraiser?
Yep. And
So
sometimes, yeah. Most
all the
appraisers have a person doing stuff for them too, which is going to bump us as hip. So just
Yep. But
generally
let's
speaking,
keep it
20.
minimum. We'll say 15 to 20 people have to do their jobs, and the property, though it's not a person, the property has to start by checking enough boxes for the buyer to want to even take a crack at it, and then get through the inspection, and then qualify for the finance type, and then appraise for and this is a typical deal. There are atypical deals. There are weird ones. There are one-offs. Not to mention your mom and dad who want to tell you whether or not they like the house, and your kids who may or may not like the bedrooms. I mean,
But to be fair, most people have most buyers and sellers. Okay, whatever for sellers, most buyers have 2 points of contact when they're purchasing a home. Yeah, me and you. So that's it. They do my job. What I believe, and we've talked about this. You mentioned this earlier. What I believe my job is to shield them from all of the rest of the shit.
Yep.
All of those other people.
That's literally what I get paid for.
That's my job. That's what I get paid for. However, there are buyers.
And you don't have to. It's what you hired me to do.
Yeah. You don't even know the cats exist. For the most part, my buyers do not know.
Yes.
There are 15 people I'm waiting on.
Yes.
It's fine. They think it's me. They think I'm the reason we're going slow. And I'm like, yeah, if you think I can make the appraiser go out there, you're fucking nuts. I already tried to bribe him. I can't get the insurance agent to respond. I try not to throw others under the bus, but I will reach out and say, hey, can you help me get this if I need somebody to help? I had just had a seller's agent say, hey, where's the appraiser? And I said, would you be willing to reach out to him? They won't give me the info, but they'll give it to you. And he's like, hell yeah, I'll call him. Yeah. Working as a team there.
So you were making another point.
Was I? I don't think so. I'll listen on the back loop. I don't think so.
And you'll think of it and be like, I wish I'd have said that.
How did I forget that point?
So, yeah, at the end of the day, there's a lot. Oh, you were talking about shielding the client.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sometimes.
Sometimes there are clients who want to know every single
thing. Well, here's the thing. When it goes well, it looks like we're not doing much. And that's always my goal. But that could be biting me in the ass a little bit, because if it looks to you like I'm not doing anything, then you're like, well, what the hell does she do?
I know. I have people who are like, that's it. Like, how much do you get paid to do that? Like, you have no idea how hard it is to make it look like
easy.
It was so easy.
You know what it is? It's like, this is going to sound so arrogant, but it's like watching professional sports, right? There's that whole line of story. Like, you don't see the decade of practice of getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning every day, including Saturday and Sunday, to get to the point where you're making the winning shot. Nobody sees it.
Have you ever seen the joke where it's like, I think for the Olympics, they need to put one normal person in there just so we can all see how really good they are, just for some context. Like, and
you know what?
John had bacon and eggs this morning. He's getting up there. He's doing the rings. Let's see how he does on those. Well, he fell off. He can't even get up on them. Just like a normal person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look, he's off on the side smoking a cigarette. Well, he's out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say, but anyway, yeah, it's like that.
So be a good teammate, please. And buyers and sellers, be a good teammate.
You can work in conjunction with other professionals on behalf of and while advocating for your client.
And your mental health will benefit from doing so.
Absolutely. I think that's it. We're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week.
All right. Same bat
Bye.
time, same bat channel. Bye.
The info given is current as of this recording, but remember, the market changes and real estate is hyper local.